On this episode of Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, we are at Barney's Creek Park in West Jordan, Utah. And our guest today will be Marilyn Kline.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Kline. I'm a retired school counselor, and I've been going back the last 3 or 4 years substituting as a counselor. I have 3 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, 2 grandsons, and a granddaughter. Come walk a mile in my shoes with me today.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Jared.
Thank you for coming out today.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's so good to see you again.
You too.
Yeah.
You
Well, hopefully you're ready to walk and move around a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. Looks like you got a little bit of tape on the knee there.
Yep, old high school football injury.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
if at any point you need to just stop and take a break, or if you just want to sit and talk, we can do that too.
Okay.
As I always tell people, we'll walk a mile more or less. So
Okay.
yeah, you just let us know. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And
Okay.
so as you mentioned before, you're a retired school counselor. And you've been kind of subbing in and out of different schools in the last few years.
Yes.
Grateful for you that you can continue to help that way.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because you've besides that subbing, you've had the retired life for the last 5 years, which for a lot of people is kind of a sort of a hypothetical, maybe that'll happen, but you've been actually living it for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm curious, somebody who's had 5 years worth, what are some of the positives and maybe some of the challenges of retired life, as well as kind of related, just are the day-to-day routines of retired life kind of what you expected?
My retirements did not start out like it should have. Like the dream was, I retired 2020, and then 2.5 weeks later, my husband died unexpectedly. So everything I had planned was gone. So it's been rebuilding my life, figuring out who I am, and grief, living with all of that. But I've never regretted retiring, even with all of that went on. I was tired of working, and I knew it was time. So yeah, and it's easy to get lazy when you're retired. So, try different things.
Yeah, you've like we've talked about, you've been still kind of sticking around, helping out in the schools. What else helps kind of keep structure in your life when you're retired?
That's one I'm still working on. I always say it's a good thing I go to church on Sunday, so I know what day of the week it might be.
Yes.
I get up, I try to do a few things around the house. I read quite a bit. Actually, I listen to books, because then you can do other things. Yeah, I'm still, it's an ongoing thing trying to figure out, again, who I am and what I could be doing.
Right.
So,
yeah, work in progress, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
But it's not what I thought I would be doing in my life at this point.
Yeah, real curveball.
Oh, yeah. Incredible curveball.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's nice and refreshing to hear that, you're still working through challenges. You're still kind of figuring things out. Sometimes we have that misconception of, well, I'm retired now. I have everything figured out. I'm gonna live this golden life, and it's like, oh no, it's still a process.
Yeah, it is. And, my goals were, Jeff and I were going to go do all these things together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have him to do it with, but I am going traveling and doing things with a few friends,
Mm-hmm.
which was our goal.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing it
Mm-hmm.
without him.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. So I remember the first time I went somewhere, we were going to Hawaii with my daughter and her husband. And this about 8 months after Jeff had died, and they came to get me to go to the airport. I'm laying in my bed in the fetal position, just crying. And now I go, and it's like, no big deal.
Wow.
So I'm still sad, but it's not that I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Sad. So that's one of my steps I see that I'm doing, and that.
Sounds like you've really been pretty resilient.
I try to be. It was really, when you say resilient, I got the news, and I remember standing there, almost physically watching my old self walk away. And the thought that came into my mind was, you have to get up and get dressed every day. And so I've done that. Some days I get from one pair of pajamas to another, but I got up.
Yeah.
And so that's been helpful, because I knew that's what I had to do from the minute I heard. So
Yeah, kind of taking care of those basic needs when we're dealing with grief and trauma, and that's kind of mostly what we can hope for, right?
Right. Yeah.
What, along those lines, what else would you recommend to somebody who's dealing with such a huge loss like that? What are some other tips or things that you would recommend to somebody to just manage through a day?
One thing, grief is a personal journey. So it's not going to be the same for everyone. My kids and not grandkids, they're dealing with the same loss, but they are dealing with it differently, because it was their dad. The son-in-laws are the one who rescued him, so they've got that. It was my husband, and so I deal with that part of it. And I find all these little quotes on grief and that, but it's a lifelong process. And my aunt gave me a book called Grief Soup. Sit down.
So yeah, we can sit. Yeah.
Okay. And a lady's dealing with grief. You don't know what the grief is.
Yeah.
But she said things that were really helpful to me. And it's a children's book. So it's one you can understand when you're grieving.
Yeah.
And, she says things like, your emotions are okay. And God gave you these emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel sad. And it's okay to not let people in your life if they're draining you. it's okay to miss them. And it really helped me because there's been more than once that I am so angry with Jeff and God. And I think that God gave you the feeling of anger. He can handle it, and it's okay. And so allow yourself to feel those emotions. And there's days, like I said, I'd get out of bed and change my clothes and go back to bed. And then the thing I didn't know, because I'd never experienced it, is grief is a physical pain too. I hurt from the hairs on my head to my toenails.
Mm-hmm.
And there was more than once that, I'm walking from the kitchen into the bedroom and I almost had to crawl because there was no energy left to even walk. So, feeling that, I thought I was crazy. And I had a friend whose husband died a year before Jeff did. And she said, she wondered when I'd feel that way because she had done it too. So just having someone, verify my emotions that they're okay, that's normal. And so that's when, like I said, get up every day, even if you go back to bed. I've been trying to find new things to do. And, I tried my hand at ukulele and that didn't work. I tried a watercolor class and that didn't work. I did some houseplant classes and I liked that. So I kind of been doing that. And I discovered at the U they have what's called the OSHA program for mature adults. And they have classes that you just go and learn. And I really have enjoyed that because I'm connecting with people, even though I don't know them again, but there's still that connection. I'm learning something, new life skills, so that's been helpful. And I read a quote that basically it said, with grief, you're not learning how to live with the pain and the sorrow and the agony because you're already doing that. But you're learning how to accept joy and happiness back into your life. And that has been really profound to me because it's hard. And there's times where I'm having a good time and not so much now, but I'd feel guilty, like, oh, I should be home mourning. But then remembering, no, this is life. You can't sit there. And, this is my story, so it's not the same for everyone. But I had to force myself to leave the house. It was COVID. So it was really easy to stay in the house and not go anywhere. And there was one Sunday and I was getting ready to go to church and I did not want to go. And at the door, and I thought, if you don't walk through that door, you're never going anywhere again. And I said, so you have to go to church. You don't have to stay, but you have to drive there. And I go and I get in the car and Sweet Child of Mine is playing on the radio. So I cranked that baby up and I'm singing and jiving and it's like, there's my message. So that was kind of a nice little thank you, God, type of thing. And in fact, Brett said, there's God talking to you through Guns N' Roses. And so, that takes a lot. It took a lot of willpower. And then I'd be exhausted. I mean, like I go to church that day, then I'd have to come home and sleep for several hours because it took everything out of me. And so, there's a lot of conscious decisions that I've had to make along the way. And I always give myself permission when I get out the door, if it's not working, then come back. But at least go and do. And but it was hard. It still is some days. You know, I'd rather stay in bed and listen to a book, or, you know, just not face the world. But I get up and I go, so that's it. So yeah,
That's incredible.
it is. And like I said, everyone's journey is different. So what's working for me may not work for someone else, and that's okay. Because we each deal with it. And other quotes I see quite a bit of is, grief is also a sign of how much you love someone. And, you know, if I weren't grieving, that, you know, that may have lessened our relationship, but our relationship was good enough that it hurts, you know, and I miss it. So, in fact, my financial advisor, when he was helping me with everything, he goes, "You really miss him." He goes, "I have some women who come in and it's almost like, yes, they're gone." And I'm like, yeah, I do. So yeah. And then, like other things I've learned along the way, is grief isn't just losing the person. It's losing our dreams together. It's losing my grandkids won't know their grandfather. It's losing we won't go old together. You know, there's so many secondary losses and griefs that you have to go through. And that's so true. You know, I've had some family things going on, and I'm like, Jeff was supposed to be here to help me with these things we had talked about about it. And, you know, so that's another loss that I have to deal with, and that. So I do, and they come up all the time. I mean, you've heard there's so many triggers, you know, like you're doing just fine. And the other day, my family and I were planning a little staycation, and I started talking to my daughter about it, and I just started crying, and totally out of the blue, you know. So I go with it. I have to feel those emotions or they come back. And that's been hard, because there's so many. I didn't know that many different emotions existed. And I also didn't realize you can carry at the same time both grief and joy, both happiness and sadness. And that's been a lesson I've had to learn, that it's not just one only. You can have multiple emotions at the same time. You know, I can go and do something and enjoy it and still be sad that Jeff's not there doing it with me. And so that's been a big lesson to learn. And that. So, and in that book, Grief Soup, or another quote I found is, "It's not that your grief and sorrow gets less, it's that you get stronger to carry it." And one thing I read said, when you're having one of those down, lay in bed and cry in the fetal position, you're strengthening your grief muscles. So I'm like, some days I'm just working those muscles and that. And then every day I miss him. Some mornings I wake up crying. Some mornings it's, well, another day without him. So it's been an interesting journey. And it's interesting how different people show up. And I have a couple friends, family members, that they feel really bad for me and they're there for me. But if I get upset and I'm crying, then it's like, here, don't cry anymore, you're okay. And it's like, I am okay, but I'm going to cry. And that's okay. And so I know when I'm around those people that they aren't capable of maybe giving me the empathy that I need, but their hearts are still in a good place and they're there and they help me. So I had to give people a lot of grace. And the hardest one to give grace to yourself is yourself. So yeah.
You've been doing that pretty well, it sounds like.
I'm trying. So
You've allowed yourself to feel all sorts of feelings, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And when it comes to grief, it's like, we're often told, we hear some well-intentioned statements, they're in a better place, or they're out of their misery, but you know what? It still sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so many people would come over and I know their hearts were in good places, but it's like, well, God must have needed him. And I said, so do I.
Yeah.
So do my kids.
Yeah.
And that's not quite the answer people want to hear because their intentions are good, but it sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who may be watching right now who is like, I don't know what to say or do when one of my close friends loses somebody? What would you recommend to that person?
Just show up or call and say, thinking about you. The day after Jeff died, there was a lady in our neighborhood, and her daughter and mine had been friends, and her son died tragically in a car accident. And she said she debated all day and evening to come over or not. But about 9 o'clock, she shows up and she shared her experiences with me, not belittling mine or minimizing mine, but, things like, this sucks. And there's nothing merciful about it right now. And that one visit, her just going with her feelings and coming over helped as much as anything. I had friends who would just text. And that's sometimes all you want. I didn't want to talk to people, but to just say, hey, thinking about you today. Hope everything, thinking about you. And let them feel, like I said, those few people who want me to be smiling and happy. Let me have my moment, let me sit and cry. And so let your friends feel that, whatever it may be. And like one friend was at church and I had to leave to go get something ready. And she saw me walk out. And so she came to find me to make sure I was okay. It just was really helpful. But the platitudes of they're in a better place, or they're happy, or now, and you have your angel, and yeah, that's true. And sometimes all you need to say is, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm so sorry. And I know I'm guilty of it. What can I do to help? Well, I had one friend who called me up and said, I'm going to bring dinner over tonight. Okay, great. And some people will just randomly, like that friend whose son died, she'll just randomly bring over a loaf of bread. Made bread today, thinking about you, knowing how you start feeling like people have forgotten. And so just being there for someone, letting them talk. If they don't want to talk, just sitting with them. And the text. I can't tell you how much those help. There's one time, really bad spot, and Brett, our friend, just texted me and he said, "I've been thinking about you today. You okay?" And it's like, no, I'm not, but thanks for asking. So, yeah, that's the big thing, is just be there and let them be. You know, I don't know, you'll be happier, so.
That's so helpful. Yeah, let them be. Give them their space, their space to mourn. But just kind of meet them where they're at. I guess. Yeah.
And I had one friend during that time couldn't go out for lunch, so would have a picnic in the park a couple times a month. That was great. She's meeting a need. She's meeting her need. We're visiting. And so those kind of things were really helpful. And then friends that go out for lunch. And I had one neighbor who, a couple weeks later after the death, she texted me and she said, "We're going walking tonight. I'll be over at 8:30 to get you." And I'm like, I don't want to go walking. And for that summer, she almost every night would text and say, "We're going." And, I could have said no, but someone there pushing me out really was helpful. And that. And then, not what people can say, but hard thing for me has been letting people help me. It's hard to say, I can't change the batteries in my smoke detectors. Will you please come and do it for me? Or, things like that. I was talking to one of Jeff's friends, and the youth from church were going to come over and work in my yard, do some cleaning in there. And I was telling him, I said, I don't want to be the project. I don't want to be that widow that, we've got to go and help. And he said, someone's got to be that person that they can serve. You're teaching them something by allowing them to come and do something for you. And that really stuck with me, that, yes, follow my pride and let people serve me, help me, whatever that may look like. So yeah, some days I'm like, sure you don't need to come and clean my yard again? But yeah, so that's been good. And then I didn't realize how much regression I did emotionally. I mean, I was a semi-confident person. I got to where I had no confidence. I had no self-esteem. I said, I feel like my 13-year-old self again.
Yeah.
But and that's been a process, building that back up. And some of it is just like that day going to church, and that gave me a little bit more confidence that I can do something hard again. So, and then I've always had anxiety, but grief exacerbates it. And in fact, there's a book on anxiety, the unmentioned part of grief, and like my mom I live in West Jordan, she lives in Salt Lake, 30 minutes away. And if I would go to see her the whole time, that 25, 30-minute drive, I am telling myself, a car is not going to hit you. You are fine. And so I'd get places just exhausted because I had to talk myself through these simple things that before wasn't a big deal. So, and the funny thing, the hardest thing for me was to go grocery shopping. Minor thing. So I discovered you can click it and pick it up, and
Yeah. Game changer.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's what a lot I'm working on, is just leaving my 13-year-old self behind and becoming my post-grieving self. And yeah, I'll go back to 13.
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, they didn't look at, they didn't talk to me. They must not like me. I'm no good. And it's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's been an ongoing thing. So yeah.
This has been valuable counsel and wisdom that you shared about grief and helping those who want to help those in grief. I'm so very appreciative that you were willing to share this experience and this ongoing experience that you've been facing. I want to give you just a minute to maybe address that one person who maybe it's because of grief, complex grief, or maybe they're just struggling for other reasons and they're struggling to hang on. What would you say to that person?
It's really hard, and you can do it. Make baby steps. Like I said, mine was to get out of bed every day, and knowing that it wasn't going to get easier, but I was going to get stronger. The grief is still there, but I can carry it better now. And I've gone to therapy, and that's okay, because I need someone to talk to. And I know the first time I went, I'm like, I can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And I told him what I had done. And he said, you mean to tell me you did A, B, C, and D, and you can't do anything? He said, that's remarkable. And I'm like, oh, thanks. So just having that different perspective helps. And those baby steps, because like I said, it doesn't necessarily get easier. You just get stronger to carry and deal with the grief. And yeah. So
baby steps. Yeah. That goes for just about anyone who's hanging on. You have those cliches, one foot in front of the other, one breath after another, but it's so true.
Yeah. Well, when you say that, one breath out of another, it's one day at a time. And I read something, some days it's just one breath at a time. That's all, how much forward you can look in life and do that, because there's good. And then, like for me, it was allowing people to help me. Being the project.
Let yourself be the project.
And so it's hard. And you get stronger. So.
Well, you're one of the strongest people I know.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing these experiences. We have a lot of superhero movies out there, but you're the Wonder Woman in my eyes. So thank you.
Oh, thank you
for sharing your story today, Marilyn.
Oh, you're welcome.
If I give you a hug, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.